So, here we are chatting with the Chaplains.
Cheers.
Hey.
Yeah.
Nee, wat? Hey, l'chaim. Hey.
So, gentlemen, please tell me, what have you been doing the last few days?
Well, there was, I think, what was it she said, for the first time in over 100 years, 120?
Yeah.
Something like that. Here at the Washington Ethical Society, Amanda Poppe brought together loads of humanist clergy from, we had a hospital chaplain in our group, Society for Humanistic Judaism, a couple of other university chaplains, UU ministers. Really, it was an opportunity for us to talk with each other, learn about what each other was doing.
Interfaith chaplains.
Interfaith chaplains too, we had a few of those.
Mm-hmm.
But really just to find out who other people are that are out doing humanist outreach and learning from each other's experience, but also developing networks, which I think a lot of us have missed out on.
Yeah, and one of the I think really important things was also to see that we have these silos, to use that word, that so many people function within, that keep us, kind of connected just with a few people, when there are many, many people who are doing humanist clergy work. And there's so many people we could be learning from and working with, and drawing inspiration from, and that's really important, particularly given that if you think about it, all of our organizations in this movement, they developed in other periods, and they drew their inspiration and they adapted to those historical circumstances, and times they are changing. You look at the big wave of nuns, you look at we live in the period of the most geographic mobility, huge amounts of change that are occurring, and I think we're all aware that instead of try to just maintain or bump along, we need to experiment and get out in front and lead. And sometimes that's going to mean experiments don't all go right? And you have to learn from your mistakes and try new things. And I think that we are all getting our heads and hearts around that, to work with each other to try things, some of which hopefully will work brilliantly, and some of which we will learn lessons from. But it was interesting, and it was really fun. A lot of good people doing a lot of good work. So that was great. And we were there together. So
It was because they were so.
I was glad.
You're the two American university guys,
Right.
and I can't remember that one lady. She's a humanistic rabbi up in, I think, in Canada someplace.
there were a couple.
And a couple of them. That
Older and younger, which one were you thinking of?
The older lady.
Eva.
Ava, yeah. I think she had like some connection to American University too.
I should know that.
I don't know. No, I just thought, because she thought it was interesting that that's what we were doing, because of the connection to Congressman Raskin, in addition to.
Well, of course, now I've been telling these. So people who don't know me. Hi, I'm Ben Biber. I'm the humanist chaplain, or one of them, with Jase and Heath at American University now. But for 13 years, I served in a humanistic Jewish congregation as a rabbi, and I was the president of the Association of Humanistic Rabbis for a couple of years. And so, I would regularly report back to my colleagues, especially when I was starting the chaplaincy 6 years ago, about what interesting work it was, and the great people, like, of course, Jamie Raskin, who is a professor at American University, and, of course, now a member of the House of Representatives in the U.S. Congress, constitutional law professor, and he's one of our faculty sponsors of our humanist chaplaincy, and he, of course, was endorsed and supported by the Free Thought PAC. Thank you. I'm sure there's the exact words there. I should be mentioning.
The Free Thought Equality Fund.
Thank you, the Free Thought Equality Fund. And but so I've been telling Eva and other colleagues about that, and how interesting it is to work with students and do advocacy work, and of course then have the good fortune to work together with you, and also to try to bring from my humanistic Jewish experience and training, and of course you're coming from your different experience and training, and of course we've met other people from other places. Some of them are closer philosophically, like the Unitarian Universalist, the Quaker, chaplain, and then of course some of them are just surprising that we get these interesting collegial interactions with the other chaplains, the Muslim chaplain, the Jewish chaplain, the Catholic chaplain, and so on, the Sikh chaplain, and I think it's a really I think we're in a wonderful position to have seen what it means to be a humanist chaplain, and of course you're hopefully going to take some of that into your work with the military, but then to see like all these Unitarians and humanistic rabbis and ethical culture leaders and some other off-roaders like ourselves.
That's a good way of putting it.
Oh my gosh, wandering out in the wilderness, although it's kind of a nice wilderness to wander in.
It has been. I remember a couple of months ago we did this thing about the parallels between coming out LGBTQ and coming out as atheist or non-believer to your parents, and it was around about the time that one of our students was preparing to go home at the winter holiday break and was nervous because he wanted to say something to his parents, but he wasn't quite sure, and he actually drew. I mean, this might sound strange, but he drew inspiration from that particular event when we actually had a young lady from the Middle East in full hijab come to our meeting and just said, you know, I'm a Muslim, but I also have an atheist boyfriend.
Right.
How am I going to explain that one to our family? And
she was concerned for her atheist boyfriend, that he'd find community and support and friendship, and she wanted him to feel positive about being an atheist. And then, you know,
in a very neutral environment that, as you say, we're fortunate to have at American, where there's a no proselytizing kind of understanding between people. You can still be true to yourself and be authentic, but at the same time not encroach upon other people's space, and that people do have the right to, you know, to be themselves, because we are living in a pluralistic world. And I thought that was quite interesting to be able to relay that experience that we had just the last couple of months to other members today in the last couple of days, to say, hey, this is actually, you know, where it meets humanity rather than just some theory.
Right. Well, and I think that it's neutral in the sense that we're not proselytizing, though, you know, speaking obviously clearly and, you know, communicating what humanism is about, but creating a very friendly, inviting place that so much that a woman in a hijab, you know, a Muslim woman who's devout, and she just finished her Muslim women's group, you know, prayer group, and, you know, she's finishing up that and cleaning up and resetting the room, and I'm coming in to set up for our humanist group, and we're having a nice conversation, and then she sticks around and we chat, and then I'm like, you know, she asked me, what are we about to do here in this room, and you know, we get to talking, and she's like, oh, can I stay? And I'm like, of course you're welcome, you know, please do. Love to have you share with us, you know, any of your insights, and little did I know that she was going to talk about her talking to her family about her atheist boyfriend, or talking to her atheist boyfriend about finding community. But it's just like, that's what happens when you have a positive, welcoming, inviting kind of community space. And of course it was interesting because the whole couple days that we've spent with our colleagues, other humanist clergy, you know, I think that obviously we're all wondering how best to explore new ways of inviting, being welcoming, inclusive, because it's very easy for any of us to stay in our little silos, our little bubbles, and not go beyond our comfort zones, and even really more directly address the challenges, the limiting aspects of our group cultures that exclude people and make people feel unwelcome, though we may not be aware of it. And that was, I think, very helpful, although sometimes annoying and difficult, but how would it be anything else? You know, when you think about your own limitations, usually it's not always the most cheery thing.
It was sort of
hence our having a glass of wine and debriefing.
Normal tradition, I think that one is, yeah. That, just as you say, that the shared experience of different people who say the organic relationships that they develop with people, that they realize the immediacy of their ethic, the immediacy of their work, that you see the individual person or the community that they're trying to deal with, and understanding that there is, it's one thing to be able to say something from behind a computer or to put something on a notice board or a Facebook post and ignore the consequence, but when you're dealing with the families and whoever else is there, it is, you realize it's not just one or two people that this has an impact on, it's more than others. And the consequences, whether positive or negative, from decisions that are made through leadership or whatever, it's much longer reaching. And it was nice to see that sort of corporate sense of responsibility, encouragement, for people to say, I'm a Jew, but I'm also an atheist, and I'm a rabbi at the same time. Put all those together, and this is the reality of who we really are. And it's not some crazy idea. It's something that's gone on for some time, and to be able to tell people that, and to laugh about how people respond to, what, you're clergy, but you're not theistic, and how do these things match up? It was good.
Well, it was interesting too. Of course, I mean, coming from humanistic Judaism, where our founder was a gay man, and the first person ordained was a woman. It tells you right off the bat that humanism in practice is very different and much more progressive and looking not just to catch up but to make the change happen. And I thought the focus on social justice issues, racial and ethnicity issues, gender and LGBT issues, women's issues. I think it was helpful to see, and of course there were a lot of women in leadership, even though there were two dudes having a chat. It was great to see, of course, and Amanda was really the organizer, and she was, and of course, leading and facilitating a lot of the sessions. She did a fantastic job. I was very grateful for her leadership on that, and of course, then she had the good fortune that David Breeden, the UU minister up in Minnesota and Minneapolis, and Jeff Falick, one of my rabbinic colleagues, former president of the Association of Humanistic Rabbis, as was I, but he took a partnership lead with Amanda and David to help bring us all together. It was fantastic. And of course I think we should, as Amanda pointed out, do this definitely again before another 100 years old.
It's true.
Probably need that. A little follow up.
Well, if you want to know more about, not just more about what Ben and I do at American University, but if you want to know more about these other members of humanist clergy, whether they be a UU minister, an association for humanistic rabbi, an ethical culture leader, use the hashtag on Twitter, #HumanistFuture. Look at what people are doing. Join in wherever you possibly can. Give them some encouragement and just get plugged into some communities, because as you know, United Core is about getting united, being united, and doing good together. We appreciate your time, and we'll catch up with you hopefully another time in the future.
Sounds great.
Sweet.
I was looking forward to it. Thanks for listening.
All right.